Shamai, and welcome.
We like to start everything that we do with a land acknowledgement, so I'll begin by reading this. We begin by thanking the Alutiiq people of the Bristol Bay, Kodiak, and Chugach regions. We're thankful to the people and also the land that sustained our ancestors and still sustains Alutiiq people today. We would also like to recognize the Squaxin and Nisqually tribes on whose land the Evergreen State College House of Welcome exists in what we now call Olympia, Washington. We would also like to recognize the lands from where we do the work of planning and where we are now. Heather resides on the land of the Spokane, and I reside on the land of the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, and Stillaguamish in what's now called Renton, Washington. We recognize the thousands of years of stewardship of these lands and acknowledge the people of our home regions as well as Washington as they continue to be caretakers of the land. Quyanaa. We also want to say a big Quyanaa. We are so thankful to all the Silkpiat in our community who work to revitalize our ancestral knowledge. We're so thankful.
We're going to go over some ancestral Naniq pictures that we have collected either from personal experience or through research that we've done online. This is one from the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian. This is a Kodiak Island Alutiiq Naniq that we have found in their collection archives that we have access to and you have access to by doing some Google research. We've provided the link there for this one. This is another one from the Smithsonian. This one was created at about the same time. This is again from Kodiak Island. It's Alutiiq as well. Notice it's a different shape. You can see the dark ends of these as you look at them. That's where the lamp wicks would have been lit. This one has dark ends at both, potentially a multi-wick lamp. This one again is from the Smithsonian collection. This one again is from Kodiak. It's an Alutiiq lamp. You can see on the right-hand side, the dark where the wick was, where it was lit, and the shape is more like an egg shape. The other ones were different shapes. So your Naniq, if you're inspired by these ancestral designs, can take different shapes. This is a beautiful one from the National Museum of the American Indian. This one is a Kachemak lamp. This one is from Cook Inlet. You can see the beautiful carvings around the outside, the human figure on the inside rising from the bowl where the oil would be. Potentially there were wicks along the sides of that. If you click on the link, you can get other photos of this Naniq, and we hope that you do some research as you're developing your own.
This Naniq is from the Penn Museum. It's a Kenai lamp. It was found in Kenai, Alaska, 8,500 to 1,100 about. It's 40 centimeters, so that's about 20 inches long. It's pretty big. So it's interesting to keep those things in mind as you're looking at these. Also, think about what they would look like when they had the oil inside of them. So this guy would almost appear to be swimming in the oil. And we know that the ocean is very sacred to our people. This one is from the Penn Museum as well, from Kachemak Bay. And you can see they also carved a line for the wick to rest in between the person's arms, between the figure's arms. If you go onto the Penn Museum website, the side view of this is stunning and it's just really uniquely shaped. So I highly recommend going to take a look at that. This is from the National Museum of Denmark, a completely different kind of lamp. This one, looks, and this is just my thoughts, that maybe it's more utilitarian, that it definitely looks like it got used a lot, and I don't know exactly where it was found, but it's fascinating to look at those. I like that this one has a notch in the front end for the wick. This one I belovedly refer to as the baked potato Naniq. Because that's what it looks like to me. But there's a lot of really great, you can really look at a lot of images of this on the National Museum of Denmark's website, and just get a little bit more insight into what it really looked like. It's way more rounded. Remember that these stones were very, very hard. And when the ancestors were carving these, they were using other stones to carve them. So it would have taken a lot of time and a lot of effort.
This is in the National Museum of Denmark. This one, if you click on the link, it will show all the sides. You can, rotate the remotely, obviously not, you're not actually rotating it, but you can see the visual of it all the way around. This one is made of clay. It's got that beautiful swirl pattern in it. The materials used were often granite or beach cobbles, and this one, of course, is clay. So different materials were used, different shapes were created, different designs were created. As Jessica mentioned earlier, some of them very plain and utilitarian looking, some of them very decorative. This is a beautiful Naniq, and I'm glad that they're willing to share, at least through photos. This one is at the Burke Museum. This photo was taken by Jessica. Jessica and I went to an event. We received a researcher grant to go to the Burke Museum in Seattle. You can also view this lamp there, this Naniq there. This is a basically 5.5 by 4.5 cobbled stone Naniq. And then the next picture is also from the Burke Museum. This one's a much larger granite Naniq, 8.5 inches, 8.5 centimeters, sorry. And it's also cobbled, but a different shape. And so we just want to encourage you to look at these ancestral pieces and get some design inspiration from them. And this beautiful one is at the Anchorage Museum. It's part of the Smithsonian collection. Again, this is more of an oval or egg-shaped vessel. It has that bear head poking out, might be a seal head, poking out of the oil. When that basin is filled with oil, it just be beautifully lit. It would look gorgeous. This is approximately 1,000 years old. And you can see this one in the Anchorage Museum if you're located there or travel there.
So known uses. We've collected this information from different sources, some from people that we know, people in our family, but also from resources like the Alutiiq Traditions book that's available at the Alutiiq Museum. So large nanit were used for cooking, and those often had several wicks that came out of them. Average sized nanit were used for light and heat, and small travel nanit were used for light and heat while on a journey. This Naniq was carved by Alicia Townsbane, my sister, and she carved this at a online workshop that we did. Elder knowledge. So we have some elders who have shared knowledge with you, as I was saying. And elders tell us to leave the Naniq as we find them, upside down, because Naniq were personal objects and they held a spirit. And it's maybe believed that they were connected to the people or the family that owned them or carved them. So keeping them stored upside down keeps the spirit that's tied to the carver and family within the Naniq. That information is from Heather's grandfather, Walter Matrokin Sr. Part of the sacred special nature of Ninit is that they were used for heat, cooking, and light. They were essential for our survival. And so they were very special. They took a long time for people to make, and people really took care of them, and they kept them for their entirety of their lives. This photo is from this past year, 2022, in-person culture camp in Olympia, Washington. And it is of Tay Fox and her daughter Diana lighting a Naniq that I carved, the diving whale Naniq.
So this is some information that was shared with us by Gwen Sargent. Lucille Davis, a Kodiak Island elder from the village of Karluk, shared this information at a Native Educators Conference in the past. The Nanit has been used in the northern cultures from Greenland to Kodiak as a means of providing light and heat. Some lamps were elaborate, with animals or human figures carved from the solid rock, which we have seen from our ancestral photos. Others are simply utilitarian and made useful for packing and traveling gear and used on cold nights while hunting. Those are the smaller ones. Typically, seal oil or other mammal fat was burned with a twisted wick of cotton grass or moss. Today, many use cooking oil and cotton wicks. Naniq continued to be used in homes during ceremonies and gatherings throughout the Alutiiq region as a way to honor our ancestors while celebrating the community of our culture. Frequently, the youngest and oldest persons are asked to light the lamp as a way to live the tradition of passing on our ways from one generation to the next. And Jessica's going to play a video that shows a Naniq being lit at culture camp by myself and one of my granddaughters.